welcome to Run with Purpose. This is episode number 131. And for those of you that are new to the show, my name is Flores, and I'm so very glad that you found this podcast. I would love if you would subscribe. And as always, you can reach out to me on all the socials everywhere at flores.run. Hope everyone is having a fantastic start to their week. It's been crazy here. I'm just not going to lie. There's been a lot of things moving on. I've been trying to record this episode for, I think, about 4 or 5 weeks now. It's kind of funny. We'll get into the episode topic in a little bit, but making excuses for it and just not getting things done. So it has definitely been a crazy last few weeks. Was traveling for work for a little bit, trying to stay on top of going to the gym, doing some fitness stuff, really trying to work on my base, you know what I mean? Trying to get base fitness in. We had recently subscribed to Apple Fitness as a switch from Daily Burn. Needed something for Kayla to do her normal daily workout. She does like HIIT workouts and stuff. You can see the elliptical in the background. She does the elliptical. She does some HIIT workout stuff. We were trying to see something that would work for both of us. How could we do some sort of training program that allows us to both be doing this? Because I didn't really like the Daily Burn. I started to get into the Peloton, which I think we've talked about on the show before. When I'm visiting out in Salt Lake, the hotel, the Embassy Suites there has a Peloton bike. So I usually get on that. Thought it was really, really cool. And I've been doing spin class at the gym at my office. And I was like, hey, maybe I could do this not just during the classes that they have, but I could also do it just whenever I wanted to. And Apple Fitness had these. Looked at the subscription. It was actually cheaper than the Daily Burn, but decided to make the switch. But been trying to do those spin classes, and they have been kicking my butt. Let's raise this microphone. Sorry for all the noise. Much better. Yeah, these spin classes have just been absolutely kicking my butt. It's crazy how like 30 minutes on the bike just absolutely beats me. It's crazy. But one exciting / probably not surprising to most of you news when it comes to fitness. Let's circle back though. Probably a little over a month ago, maybe 2 months now, talked about the church had talked about this team that they had running for the Chicago Marathon. They run with Team World Vision, which you don't know what World Vision is. Basically, it's an amazing organization that is bringing water basically to all of those in the world that don't have it. I think the statistic is like 1 in 10 people don't have access to clean water, which is just crazy to actually think about. But this organization makes a difference there. You could probably see where I'm going with this. They said, hey, we're going to have this meeting at church. It's probably about a month ago now. We're going to have this meeting at church to kind of tell you about the team. No pressure. You can just go and you can learn a little bit more about the team, what we do to raise money for Team World Vision, to run the Chicago Marathon, yada, yada. I told Kayla, I said, hey, I'm just going to listen to them. I was actually playing that week at church, and I was like, I'm just going to, after service, I'm just going to listen to them, see what they have to say. And that's what it is. I don't know if I'm running. I don't know if I'm running yet. We're just going to see what this is about and see what's going on. Kayla knew long before I did, apparently. So I'm running the Chicago Marathon this fall because who needs a break? But I'm running with Team World Vision, which is so exciting. I'm actually announcing it today on my socials as well. There's a fundraising day this Friday, March 22nd, I believe it's the Friday. Probably should look that up before I say anything. March 22nd is Friday. I'll have more information on the socials. Check that out. Would love your support. They're doing like a donation match, and it's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited for it. Kayla and I are doing some fun fundraising aspects of that as well. But yes, I'm going to be running the Chicago Marathon, and I'm actually going to be using it as a hard training or a hard training plan, if you will, to really see the limits I can push my body. Can I get faster? Not having to do 7 or 8 marathons a year now from this journey. Can I focus on it? Can I get it done? We'll see. But it was hilarious to me because Kayla knew that I was going to be running this race and signing up before I even did. It was funny. I came out with the form. I go, honey, which credit card do I use? She goes, you're signing up, aren't you? I go, yeah, but there's a thing that's a small minimum. It's whatever. Yeah, but which credit card should I use? It's like they're giving us a discount to sign up for it. So why wouldn't I? I'm actually losing money if I don't do this. But anyways, Chicago Marathon, I'm excited for it. If any of you that are listening are going to be running it, hit me up. Excited to meet some more people at races. It's been a little while since I've got to meet people. My last race was back in October. And that race, selfishly was all about me with the 50th state. So I was really focused on that. But yeah, I'm a little giddy about it, a little excited, if you can't tell. But yeah, that's everything kind of going on in my life. We're doing a lot of traveling, like I said, been very busy. And it's funny. I've talked about it in the last intro that I had with Deb. And this is a topic that I've had on the schedule for a while now. Yes, I said it's been 4 or 5 weeks since me trying to actually record this episode, but even more than that, it's even been pushed down on the priority list when I had some guests come up because I just didn't quite have the way I wanted to say it. There's a lot of things with this topic that ring a little too close to home sometimes. And I think while I was writing the notes and while I was organizing this episode, I could really tell like, hey, this is going to push you a little bit. And I feel like it's going to do that to you as well while you're listening. And I really just lean into it. Maybe try to take a truth or two away from this and see how you can use some of this in your life. But this episode is very properly timed out. Like I said, 4 or 5 weeks of trying to actually get this episode recorded and being pushed. And really, it's excuses from the top. Everything here is an excuse of why I didn't get these things done. So if we start from the top there, it's I've been busy. That's an easy one, right? With work, with school, with life, a lot of it's self-imposed. Last weekend, so 2 weekends ago really, was a prime example of like a crazy weekend. Kayla was heading out of town for work or she wasn't on work. She was on a girls' trip. I'm getting everything mixed up. She's out of town right now for work. She was on a girls' trip and I went to a show Friday night. Took her to the airport on Friday. Friday night went to a show, went to see AC Slater at the Salt Shed. It was fantastic. Great show, but I'm just vibing by myself. Bunch of kids around me. I felt like the old guy just like bouncing and doing my thing, but great show. Get home at like 2 a.m., get a few hours of sleep. I'm at rehearsal for a worship team. After worship rehearsal, that service, went to a volunteer event for church. Then it was time change. Then it was church services again the next morning, and then school, and then back into the grind of work. There really has been a lot of things going on. And usually what happens when we have that is we use that as an excuse to not do the things we should be. I was using these things as an excuse to not do what I should be doing. I found myself creeping into bad habits and making excuses of why I'm not getting things done. When I talk about those bad habits, it's spending too much time on my phone, scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through whatever, saying, why am I sitting here on my computer doing the same thing, pulling up Instagram on my computer and doing the exact same thing? I don't know why that light just shut off like that. And that's going to mess me up for a little bit. So if you're watching the video, the light just shut off, we might have to pause it and update it. Okay, we're back. Lights are fixed. Back to what I was saying about excuses. So I was spending too much time on my phone, too much time on my computer, just really making excuses for not getting the things done, whether it wasn't writing the notes for the podcast episode or doing the schoolwork, just again, making excuse after excuse, pushing off task to tomorrow for no real reason at all. There wasn't a good reason of doing it. I've already said this earlier that this episode I wanted to record a few times and it just didn't happen. And even the last week when I was supposed to record it, I really wanted to record it, setting time aside, things just kept coming up. And again, some of these things are important things, work, taking care of family things, taking care of house things. But I was really making excuses when it came down to actually getting things done and kind of filling my time with just these little things that didn't make sense. Again, phone, computer, yada, yada, yada. These excuses and this procrastination really caused it to be delayed. But the question really is how often do we come up with an excuse for our lack of discipline? Instead of owning up to why something happened, like, yeah, that's on me. I slacked off in this area. I didn't pay attention. I was doing whatever fill in the blank it is. Instead of doing that, we add this filler to the end of it. Yeah, I didn't do that, but work's just been really crazy lately. Yeah, I know I should have been doing that thing, but there's a lot happening at home right now. You can insert whatever excuse You want to enter there. But anytime we come with this but or try to add this filler at the end of the sentence of the why something didn't happen, it's really going to be an excuse. Now, some of these things may be valid reasons, but I think how often do we actually just lean into those and let them take the weight of it all? We lean into these excuses and allow it to take the weight for something that we should be owning ourselves. We should take the responsibility and say, you know what, I dropped the ball there. That's it. Instead of saying we put the weight on these excuses, even the valid reasons. Work's a prime example. We got to get work done. We got to do work. But if I put everything on work, I'm not taking responsibility for the rest of the time that I actually wasted when I should have been doing work. And because I didn't do that at work, now I'm having to do it additional. Now I'm having to stay late or whatever the case might be, right? Those reasons just become validated excuses. We all drop the ball sometimes. We're not perfect. Things happen, things come up. We forget things. We have to kind of own it there. And that's okay. I think, again, the aspect is we need to own it and understand how we can get better in the future. Does that mean that we need to say no to something that we usually say yes to? We're always taking that invitation. We're always adding the extra thing to our to-do list because we feel like that's the right thing to do, or we feel like that's our position, that we need to get those things done. And then it ends up something else falls off because of it. We make the excuse that we're too busy, but then we realize, wait a second, we're filling up our calendars. We're filling up all of this time. And that's the reason why things may have gone off track. Do we need to place more space in our lives to take care of our responsibilities? Again, going to this not saying yes to everything, do we give ourselves some space, some ability to breathe, and some room to move around so we don't feel like we're jumping from one thing to the other? Kayla and I, again, we've been traveling a lot. We've been doing a lot of things. And it's so easy to get into the rut of, well, we got this other thing, we're doing this thing. But we're really trying to be intentional with the time that we spend together, the things that we do together, really focusing on those moments. You know, we've implemented rules. We talked about this in the episode a few weeks ago with her, is, you know, no phones at the table. You know, we try to really be engaging with each other to protect that time. So how often do we need to place space in our lives to take care of those responsibilities and really focus where we should be focusing? Excuses can really line up with this like victim mentality, right? Pushing the blame elsewhere. This idea of I've got to have that filler to say something else is the problem here. It's not me. How could it ever be me? That is crazy talk. It can't be me. So since it's not me, it's got to be someone else, or it's got to be something else. How do I push that on there? We play that victim mentality. This idea that, hey, this thing bothers me, but because that thing happened. We don't take the responsibility for it. We end up pushing it to something else, or even worse, we make it about how we've also been slighted by the thing. I feel like we can creep into a dangerous area of not taking responsibility for our own actions because we're putting it on other people or things that we are still technically controlling. We're giving a part of our lives, giving a part of our time. And then we use those things as a crutch to say why we weren't able to complete the things that we were completing. So why do we lean into excuses? I think it can be either wanting to either push the blame to someone or something else, or it could also be that we feel we owe more to someone as to why. This is a funny, real example, and the guys that are listening to this, you know it through and through. I'm basically late to every single group run that I do with my buddies. Doesn't matter how hard I try, I'm probably going to be late. And the running joke is that they have to tell me a time that's actually before the meeting time because they'll know that I'm going to be late. The joke really is on them because since I know this, I still come later than the original planned time, but that's okay. That's okay. They're learning. They're picking it up. But now I really try to focus and I really try to make it on time because I respect my friends and I want to respect their time. And I have all of the right intentions of doing it, but time gets away from me. I used to pinpoint the little things that would come up and say, hey, that was the reason why I was late. Hey, that sandwich wasn't sitting well this morning, or hey, couldn't find my socks, or hey, I couldn't find my watch or my beanie. And that was the thing that put me behind, or maybe the car needed to defrost, right? It was so cold out and I didn't think about it. So I had to put it in the car and sit up and warm it up a little bit. The excuses were really endless in how I would go about bringing these things up. But what I noticed is that the excuses seem to be the same thing over and over again. Maybe not the exact same item, but some variation of me not being able to find something or quote unquote losing track of time. This made me realize that I really just had a lack of adjusting my behavior. And because of that, the same thing happened. Right? Because we need to learn from what we're doing and make adjustments so we don't keep doing it. If we make an excuse for it, it might have been valid the first time, maybe even the second time. But if we keep on doing it, I'm just not taking the right action to actually impact what is going on. I'm using the excuse after excuse after excuse, but it has to come to a point of when is the ownership on me to actually make a change, to actually do something to change the outcome of what's been happening. So after I had that thought, I realized, wait a second, I need to take action. I need to do something about this. So if I kept misplacing things for a run, why wouldn't I just lay them out the night before? Or as Kayla would say, put them back where they belong, or put them back where you found them. That makes a lot more sense. Maybe I should start trying to do that. But if I take these actions after realizing the fault that I had or the excuses that I was making, the excuse wouldn't be needed. Again, something would happen. I would make an excuse. But if I keep making the excuse, it's no longer an excuse. I'm making the choice to do that action. I'm actively choosing to do this thing instead of doing something else that is going to correct the issue. So if I keep doing the same thing, and I wonder why I'm getting the same result. It's the definition of insanity, right? I need to make those adjustments. I need to take the action to eliminate the excuse. And not saying other things won't come up. Other things will probably come up, but it won't be that thing again. It won't be my watch again. It won't be my hat again. It'll probably be the car being too cold. That'll probably be the thing that does it, because I always forget about that. But I'm sure you have your own situation where this kind of happens, right? Where something doesn't go the way you planned, but instead of making the adjustments to get it in line, we keep with the same excuses time and time again. These can be excuses to your families, your friends, your coworkers, or even worse, yourself. We beat ourselves up about these things that we want to change, but yet when it comes to actually shifting the direction in order to correct, we stall and just stay in the comfort because it's a lot easier. Why would I change? There's no reason for me to change that action. Yeah, there is, if you don't want to continue the excuses. If you don't want to keep going through this same vicious cycle and making excuse after excuse and never going forward with it, sure, sit in your comfort. But I'm pushing you guys just to think about a little bit of getting uncomfortable. I'm telling myself this as I write it. It's, again, very convicting. Get a little uncomfortable and understand the excuses that you're making and the actions that you need to take in order to make this happen. Tonight's a prime example. Been putting this episode off. This is Monday night before the episode records. I put a thing on my story so you can see it. Been putting off this episode to do it. I have schoolwork to do. I have other things to do, but this is something that I said I wanted to do, and I wanted to get this out. And it was, I think the excuse of me is like, I've made enough excuses. Let's take action to make this happen. Now there's repercussions for that right now. I've got to stay up later. I've got to do whatever, but it doesn't matter. I'm changing my action. I'm implementing an action to prevent the excuse of why this episode went one more week without coming out. As I said at the top of the episode, it's so easy to make excuses. We place the blame on someone or something just to ease the burden that we feel. A few months ago, I read this quote that really stuck with me. And it's, excuses don't get you into things. They only get you out of them. I'll say it again. Excuses don't get you into things. They only get you out of them. Excuses don't make us better in our day-to-day. We sit making the same excuses and wonder why we're not experiencing growth. We're going through the same circumstances and making the same excuses of why we're not succeeding, and we wonder why we're not growing in it. No, excuses only get us out of doing things. Instead of making the change, we come up with excuses and all of the reasons of the why not. This is why I couldn't do it. This is why I couldn't do that. What if we took that excuse and used it as a catalyst for change? Again, things happen, many of which are unexpected. I get that. However, with that new information, we can create a better plan of action. Knowing what we know now from the excuses that we've made, excuse after excuse after excuse, problem after problem, we can say, oh, wait a second, I understand this. I can create an action plan and take what was once an excuse and turn it into a success. You reach out to me on social media everywhere at flores.run. Subscribe, leave a review for the podcast. Appreciate it. Team World Vision, Hangry. There's a bunch of things happening, but thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to keep growing with purpose, one step at a time. See you next week.